All right, welcome to the 330 Sports Show. My name is Justin Coffin, and today is Tuesday, December 15th, 2020. We are broadcasting live from downtown Youngstown, Ohio, and we are produced by Joe Danier's Youngstown Studio Network. We'll open up the call lines later in the show, but if you'd like to call in later, 330-595-1600. On today's show, we're going to do a dive into the wild weekend in sports. We'll get into the college football news and rankings as we head into championship weekend. We'll obviously talk about the crazy Browns-Ravens game last night and around week 14 in the NFL. The Cleveland Indians are, unfortunately or fortunately, whichever side of the, fence you stand on that, they're going to change their nickname. We'll get into that later. But before we get into all that, I have a great guest that's joining us today. She is the owner of her own business, which is called Heroes and Tiaras. She is a WYTV Hometown Hero recipient. She's very active in the community, and she's obtained all this success while only being a freshman at Youngstown State University. So I'd like to welcome in Annabelle Himes. Annabelle, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We're excited you're here. So tell, this is obviously a sports show, but a lot of people that watch have kids and things like that. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and your business.
Sure. So I started Heroes and Tiaras in 2018, about 2.5 years ago. We go to kids' parties and different events dressed up as your classic princesses and superheroes. We have different characters. We just added the Grinch, Mrs. Claus. And within the last 1.5 years, it's really taken off. I just started it as something small with my friends. We'd go maybe every other month to a kid's birthday party. And then within maybe the last 1.5 years, it's really taken off and it turned into my full-time job.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, obviously you started this business in high school. Mm-hmm. And so what made you, or what gave you the idea to start this business or think it was like something more than just something, fun to do?
Well, maybe it was my freshman year, someone asked me to be a princess for a father-daughter dance.
Okay.
And then the next year she asked me to come back, and then parents were messaging us, who were the princesses? We want to have them for our birthday party. And I was like, wow, this could be a real thing. Mm-hmm. So we'd get a booking maybe every other month. And then eventually it was 5 every weekend, and then 10 every weekend. And then It just kind of grew.
That's awesome. That's really, really cool. So obviously, we're in a pandemic and just crazy times in general. So how has that, sort of changed your business or business model, what you're doing right now?
Well, when the pandemic hit, that was when I was at my highest point, and then I couldn't let my business go down the drain. So we started video chats, and then we reached people all over the country, Vegas and Florida, Texas.
Wow.
And then we started doing yard visits where we would stand at the end of the driveway or at the end of someone's porch and visit the kids social distance style. Mm-hmm. And now we're back up and running normal, but we still take the extra precautions.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so how do you think your business has grown? Has it been like kind of word of mouth, or like, tell people how they can kind of get in touch or like check your business out on social media or internet or whatever?
So Facebook is everything. That's where we get a lot of our business. If you'd like to book through Heroes and Tiaras, you could text or call 330-550-0577 or message us on Facebook. Yeah.
All right. Very good. So you're doing all this while also being a freshman in college.
Right.
So, so I'm guessing, I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing you have a business, or you want to go into something with business.
Right now I'm at YSU for business.
Okay.
And then eventually I'd like to go on to get my doctorate in speech pathology.
Oh, very nice. Okay. All right. Very good. So, where do you see, obviously, this year's been kind of crazy, but let's just assume things get back to normal. Where do you see your business possibly going or growing from after the pandemic?
We'd like to reach more families, obviously, and maybe travel a farther distance than Youngstown and Western Pennsylvania.
Okay. Very good. So you mentioned Facebook is probably the best way to get a hold of you guys. So again, it's Heroes and Tiaras.
Right.
So look for you on that. So with that, what like Disney movies kind of inspired you as a kid to, that maybe got you into this too? Or like, what are some of your favorite Disney movies?
My favorite Disney movie when I was little was always Beauty and the Beast, because her name's Belle and my name's Annabelle. But now my favorite Disney movie is probably Frozen. I love Elsa. She's the only princess with a superpower. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I was telling you a little bit before the show. I have a daughter now, and like I would say Frozen is probably her favorite. She just loves those characters. So do you have a favorite Disney? Would you say Frozen's probably your favorite movie then too, Disney wise?
Probably one of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now this is a sports show, so I want to ask you a couple just sports related questions, but nothing too crazy. Do you have a favorite sports team or teams you follow, or a favorite athlete?
Oh, I've never really been into sports, but my favorite sports team would be the Browns.
Okay. Very good. Yeah. It's a good year to be a Browns fan. And any sports movies that you possibly like?
That's tough. I'm a chick flick.
That's all right. That's all right.
Hallmark movies.
That's all right. All right. So you know what? Since you said that, Mario, can we put up the clip with all the different Christmas movies? Okay. So Annabelle, I'm going to have you look at the screen here in a minute. Right. And so we have 1 through 12 up here. So we're going to call this, I guess, a little takeoff of Panera. Like they have the You Pick 2. I'm going to have you pick 3.
Okay.
So if you only got to pick 3 of these movies, we have Christmas Vacation, looks like The Polar Express, we have Elf, all these different movies. If you could only pick 3 of those movies, which 3 would you pick?
This is tough. Definitely National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Okay.
That's always
good
a family
choice.
favorite.
Yeah.
The Polar Express, that was my first movie I ever saw in theaters when I was a baby. Oh, the next one would probably
Doesn't that make you feel old, Joe? Like
A Christmas Story or The Grinch? Probably A Christmas Story. That's always a family classic. I just started getting into The Grinch this year after we added the Grinch character. I never realized how much people really like The Grinch. Yeah.
You know what? Like watching The Grinch, like I'm not too crazy about the Jim Carrey one, but I love like the old cartoon one. So I don't know why I've just always liked that one.
Yeah, I like the Jim Carrey one, but I feel like as a kid,
not
so much.
Right. Yeah. No, I hear you. Okay. All right. Let's do a little, let's transition now and do a little segment called This or That. It's kind of like a little Christmas themed this or that segment. So peppermint or pumpkin?
Pumpkin.
Okay. Eating cookies or baking cookies?
Eating cookies, of course.
Coffee or hot chocolate?
Coffee for sure.
Okay. Eggnog or apple cider?
Apple cider.
Yeah, I think that one's an easy one. Making a gingerbread house or decorating your house with Christmas lights?
Oh, probably making a gingerbread house.
Okay.
It's easier.
All right. Black Friday or Cyber Monday?
Ooh. I used to be Black Friday, but ever since the pandemic, it's Cyber Monday. Amazon is everything. It's right on your doorstep. You don't have to leave your house.
Do you use Amazon a lot for your business?
I do. A good amount.
Okay. All right. Very good. Warm weather or cold weather?
Warm weather.
Okay. Dressing up or wearing an ugly Christmas sweater?
Dressing up for sure.
Okay.
I'm that girl that always went to school on ugly Christmas sweater day with my sparkly Christmas sweater.
Oh, yeah. All right. Very good. And last one, real tree or an artificial tree?
Probably artificial.
Okay. All right. Very good. All right. So the next segment I'm going to do with you is, I personally love this. I think this is going to be fun. I did some research over the weekend and looked into some old Disney, like not necessarily old Disney movies, but a list of Disney movies and characters.
Okay.
And I also looked into some interesting sports figure names. Mm-hmm. So we're gonna mix a little Disney and sports here. And I'm gonna read a name for you, and I want you to tell me if it's a Disney character or a professional athlete.
Okay.
Okay. First one, and there's 25 here. We're gonna kind of go through it quick, but don't worry, we're grading on a curve. So, Prince Amukamara.
Sports.
Very good. 1 for 1. Duke Weaselton.
Frozen. That's Disney.
That is a Disney character. Dex Barrington.
Sports.
That one is called the Country Bears.
I don't know.
I don't know. I went deep into the list here. Nick Toon.
Sports.
Yep, very good. Captain Munnerlin.
Sports.
Very good. Gadget Hackwrench.
Sports.
That one is, I didn't know this was part of the Disney family, but this is Chippendales Rescue Rangers.
Oh, I've never seen that.
So Gadget Hackwrench. Captain Phoebus.
That's the Hunchbacks.
Very good. Very good. Yeah. I didn't know that one. Chad Ochocinco.
Sports.
Very good. Binky Muddlefoot.
See, that sounds like a Disney name, but I don't. Let's go Disney.
Okay, you're right. Darkwing Duck. That's another one I've heard of, but I wasn't familiar with.
Disney?
Oh no, that was I don't know if it's Disney, but yeah, I mean, it's in the Disney franchise. So yeah, you're right. You're doing well. Only missed one so far. Earthwind Moreland.
Sports.
Very good. Frosty Rucker.
Sports.
Very good. Barley Lightfoot.
Sports.
That one's called Onward.
Oh, that's a new movie, I think.
So yeah, that one's in the Disney family. That one's kind of, that sounds like it could be a sports name though, doesn't it? Like he'd be really quick or something like that. Ben Jarvis Green Ellis.
Ben Jarvis Green Ellis. Probably sports.
Right. DeBrickashaw Ferguson.
Sports.
Barkevius Mingo.
Sports.
Yep. Joe, that's your favorite right there. Amos Slade. This is an old school one.
Let's go Disney.
Okay. The Fox and the Hound.
Okay.
Ha Clinton Dix.
Let's go sports.
That's an NFL player. Dick Butkus.
Sports.
Very good. Smoke Monday.
Sports.
That one's from Cars.
Okay, I was never really into Cars.
Okay.
I know Maver, and then is that the red car? I just know that name.
Yeah, I'm referring to the expert over here. Vladimir Guerrero.
Let's go sports.
Very good. Former Major League Baseball player. Tank Bigsby.
Disney.
Sounds like a Disney, but Auburn football player, college football player. Oil Can Boyd.
Sports.
Yep, very good. I already did that one. Michael Darling.
Oh, that's from Peter Pan.
Very
Disney.
good. Very good. Randall Cunningham.
I feel like that sounds like Disney.
That one's a trick question because there's actually a Disney character named Randall Cunningham, 9th grade ninja, and he's also a sports athlete. So threw that one out there as a trick. So we're gonna give it to her. I think she only missed 2. Yeah. So that's pretty good.
Those were tough.
That was really. I gotta give credit to some of my friends who sent me some random sports names in that because I just thought that was pretty impressive. All right, let's move to Disney trivia.
Okay. I might be a little better at this.
All right, and this, I just Googled this most of this stuff, but we'll see how you do on this. What are the names of Cinderella's stepsisters?
Anastasia and Drizella.
Very good. Man, she's good. All right.
I know my princesses.
What does Hakuna Matata mean?
It's a wonderful day.
No worries.
No worries.
That's all right. That's still good. This one's tough, I think. What are the names of the 7 dwarfs in Snow White?
Ooh.
Or let's see how many you can name.
Let's see how many I can do. There's Sleepy, Dopey,
Sleepy, Dopey.
Grumpy.
Yep.
Is Happy one of them?
Yep. That's 4. This is tough.
This is tough.
So she has grumpy, happy, sleepy, dopey. There's 3 more.
3 more.
Joe or Mario? Anybody else?
Is there one with an allergy problem?
Sneezy.
Yes.
Sneezy.
Yes. Very good. There's one, maybe you might call him a little shy. Begins with a B. Very good. Bashful. Mario in the back. And then I think this one's in charge. The
Glasses?
I think so.
Yeah, I think he has glasses and older dude.
Begins with a D.
And he's got his credentials.
I don't know.
If you were sick, where would you go?
Doc.
Yep, there you go. All right.
That was tough.
So that's all
Everyone
7.
always talks about sleepy, dopey. Like when you're Snow White, where's sleepy or dopey? Yeah.
If gun to my head, I wouldn't be able to name all 7 of those. That's impressive. How many fingers does Mickey Mouse have?
5? 4?
4. 3 fingers and a thumb.
I never knew that.
Which Disney character sings "How Far I'll Go"?
Moana.
Very good. I just watched that for the first time this month. It's pretty good. Pretty good. That like smoke character at the end, that's a little scary if you were a little kid, I think, but pretty good movie. I think you'll get this one. What was the first animated film to earn Best Picture nomination? You said this was one of your favorite movies, Disney movies.
Beauty and the Beast.
Very good. Who was the very first Disney princess?
Snow White.
Very good. Man. These are, yeah.
Ugh.
All right, this one's kind of tough.
Okay.
Who is not an actual princess but is part of the Disney princess franchise? I'm gonna give you 4, and one of them will not technically be an actual princess.
Okay.
Belle, Mulan, Aurora, or Merida.
Mulan.
Very good. It is Mulan. Which country is Belle from?
France.
Impressive.
That was with authority.
I'm starring this like I'm grading her like in class. What is the name of Jasmine's tiger?
Raja.
Very good. How many daughters does King Triton have? I think that's
It's 7 or 9.
7. Which of these princesses, or which princess was based on a real person?
There's actually a few.
Oh,
Cinderella.
Really? Okay.
No, not Rapunzel. There's Cinderella, Pocahontas.
Pocahontas is the one I had listed. Okay.
And then Snow White.
Oh, very nice. Okay. Interesting. Did you know, this is interesting. I'm sorry, I'm going to go off track here, but Beauty and the Beast was actually, there's some king of France way back when that like locked this guy up, and that's based on a true story. Obviously, they changed some of it based
I didn't know that.
for the movie, but yeah, that I think that whole movie is based on a true story, which is interesting.
Interesting, yeah.
Tangled. Okay, so Tangled is based on a fairy tale from what country?
Ooh. It wouldn't be Switzerland. What is it?
It's close to Switzerland, but Germany.
Germany.
Yeah, very good though. That's not bad. I'm going to give you partial credit for that, for getting the right region. And then last question I got on the trivia.
Did you know that Rapunzel's from the city of Corona?
Oh, no.
Isn't that, I just found that out this week. And isn't it kind of weird? She's locked in a tower. She's quarantined.
Interesting.
Isn't that
From Corona.
right, from Corona?
Huh. Locked up, quarantined in Corona. Very interesting. Very 2020.
Yeah.
And what are the mices? I guess you would say mice. You can't say mices. What are the mice? That's still weird for me to say. What are the mice names in Cinderella?
Gus Gus and Jack Jack.
Wow. Man, she nailed like almost all of them. So, okay. So let's see. Let's go back and see what she missed. No worries. And only one other one. I think that's it. I think you got the rest. I'm impressed.
Well, thanks.
I'm impressed. All right. So, Annabelle, before we close out, first of all, thank you for coming down, taking your time, and tell people that are watching or listening again how to get in contact with your business.
Sure. You can message us on Facebook, Heroes and Tiaras, or you can call or text 330-550-0577.
Very good. Well, and be sure to check out her business, especially if you got young kids or know people with young kids. They do a fantastic job.
Or older people too. People hire the Grinch for.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, especially right around Christmas time.
Right.
Are you guys super busy right now, or do you have availability?
We do have availability, very limited, but yeah.
Okay. All right. Very good. So be sure to check out Heroes and Tiaras on Facebook, and give them a call if that's something that interests you. I think they do a great job, and what I see on your Facebook page and Instagram and all that stuff, you guys do a great job. So
thank you. Thank you.
So good luck to you guys, especially in the post-COVID world. Hopefully we get out of this soon. Mario, I'm going to queue up this, the Browns, Jim Donovan clip. So can we, I'm going to go ahead and play that. Can you cue that up on screen for me?
Hi, everybody, from First Energy Stadium, where the Browns' 4-game winning streak comes to an end in a thriller but a heartbreaker for the Browns that on Monday Night Football almost turned into Tuesday morning football. Justin Tucker hit a 55-yard field goal into the dog-pound end zone with 2 seconds left in regulation time to beat the Browns. The Ravens added a safety on the final Browns possession to win 47-42. And those Ravens are right back in the thick of it now in the AFC playoff race. They're 8-5, winners of 2 in a row with a very favorable schedule the rest of the way. They look like they're back on track after they had lost 4 out of 5. For the Browns, this is a stumble, but they have to get back up, and they have to do it very quickly on Sunday when they play Sunday Night Football against the Giants. 2 games coming up against New York teams. The Giants this Sunday, the Jets the following Sunday, and the Browns' path to the playoffs. If they get to New York and take care of business, they could have 11 wins, and that should get them in before they tangle with the Steelers at the end of the season. They're 9-4 right now, but this one got away from them after a heroic comeback. They were down 14 points, and they came back, led by Baker Mayfield, who did throw an interception in the game, but he also threw 2 touchdowns. He threw for over 340 yards, and he ran for a touchdown, too. He fought right down to the finish against Lamar Jackson. For the years to come, what a rivalry that is going to be. But the Browns defense did not have an answer for Lamar Jackson all night long. He ran around them, by them, through them. He ran for a couple of touchdowns, and he was tremendous once again. And a tough quarterback to defend. He's a very special player. The Browns also had a tough night from their kicker, Cody Parkey. He missed a field goal from 39 yards out. He missed an extra point. And he didn't look too confident even on the ones he made. And at this stage in the season, your kicker's got to be solid. Their kicker was great. Our kicker was wobbly. And the Browns paid the price as they end up losing the game. Final score from First Energy Stadium, the Ravens 47, the Browns 42. The Browns are 9-4 and get the Giants Sunday night. I'm Jim Donovan for WKYC.com.
Okay, we are back. Before we transition from into the Browns, there was one thing I meant to ask Annabelle before she left, but I think we're just gonna do this on our own. But I reached out to some friends and asked them, the NBA bubble. Remember the NBA bubble this year? So they put all the NBA teams in Orlando, and obviously Orlando's home of Disney. So I reached out to some friends and said, hey, if you were starting an NBA team, which Disney character would you have like to start on your team? So I just want to read some answers. Like I picked 2 of these, but they sent me some interesting ones. And then if you have one, please.
Yeah, I bet you'll say the one I'm thinking because it's.
Do you want to say it?
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead. You go first.
Gaston. It's got to be that dude.
We have Gaston.
Gaston.
We got him. Yeah. Okay. So we had Gaston as our 6th man.
Okay.
He's from Beauty and the Beast, right? We said he was a big weight room guy, and he'd be good at crashing the boards.
Heck yeah.
Okay. So
he's a big dude. He's got the ego to go along with it.
Oh yeah. So we also had Robin Hood. Robin Hood would be a good point guard, a good floor general, and he can nail shots from deep.
All right.
You like that? Nice. Elsa, we said, because she's got ice in her veins, and she can freeze her opponents on defense. Maui from Moana. He's what's called a shapeshifter. He can change into like different animals and stuff like
pretty
that.
buff too. He hits the weight room.
Disney lists him as 7'6".
Holy.
So we think he'd be a load in the paint to handle.
Yeah, there you go. 7'6".
We have Elastigirl from Incredibles.
That would be good.
Versatility. We have Jafar. I believe Jafar's from Aladdin, and we said he'd be a good lockdown 3-and-D guy on the wing. And then the head coach, we had Doc Hudson from Cars. He three-peated as a Piston Cup champion, and he knows how to handle talent and big egos. So
there you go.
I thought that was a fun list.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get back to actual real-life sports here. And before I go into my big spiel, Joe, what'd you think about the game last night?
It was great. I mean, like I said yesterday, my expectations for the Browns have been met already. So anything that we do from this point on, make it fun to watch, develop the storyline, really set yourself up. I'm not looking to win the playoffs or the Super Bowl or whatever, but I'd really like to see our talent get showcased.
Yeah. I'm in full agreement with you. The only thing I will say that I would add to that is, being a little bit greedy, I want the Browns to make the playoffs because I think not necessarily win a game, but make the playoffs to get that experience under their belt and be this year with the top 7 teams in the NFL. But I really, really think making the playoffs is a huge piece for the Browns this year.
For sure.
For the development, you get an extra game.
But what the frick happened to our defense? Like, where did it freaking go? We made no changes. Once Jackson started running all over on us, it's almost like we did not react or respond to that at all.
I had a friend text me last night, and he said, that's a really interesting strategy, just letting Lamar run everywhere. And then, he gets tired and sits out most of the fourth quarter. So I thought that was
good.
Right. But yeah, I mean, he did a ton of damage. He did not hurt us until that final pass, or till, that final touchdown pass really with his arm much, but he did a lot of damage on the ground. He had 163 yards passing, but I think like 50 of it was on that one play.
Yeah.
But he did have 124 yards rushing in the game, which I think that was the most by a quarterback on Monday Night Football in history. So
a little conflict here. Like, I love seeing Dobbins out in there, and I hate seeing Dobbins out there. How do you?
Yeah. You know what? Like, that's a great point. And I always root for Buckeyes, but if they're playing against the Browns trumps.
Yep, for sure.
The Browns trumps the Buckeye. If you're playing against the Browns, I'll root for you. If you're in division, I'll root for you 14 times a year, except for those 2 games. And if you're out of the division, I'll root for you 15 times, except for the 1 game you're playing the Browns.
And you're consistent because if a Michigan guy comes on the Browns, Browns first, right?
Donovan Peoples-Jones, he had a couple nice plays in that game last night.
He redeemed himself in my eyes, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's turning the corner. So a couple of interesting things. This possibly might have been the game of the year. Yeah. Based on all the Browns looked down and out there for a while when what really hurt, I think, was the Ravens going up 21-14 at the half. They scored in that final minute, and that really, and then they got the ball first in the second half, went up 28-14. So
how do you feel about these 4th downs instead of doing the conservative thing, going for it? I mean, those all or nothing plays scare the crap out of me.
Stefanski and the Browns organization as a whole are really big analytics guys. They're big numbers, and a lot of times they'll follow what the math says to do. So like last night on that 2-point conversion, they didn't need to go for that, but they did, and they got it. And on some of those 4th down plays, the numbers say go for it. You have a better chance. And to be honest, I think it depends on where you're at on the field and the situation and the score and all that stuff. But I really had no problem with the ones they did go for last night. I was actually... Even
the one on the other side of the 50-yard line, that scared me.
That was a little intimidating. You're right. But that took some stones. That took some stones to do. But Stefanski is a fantastic coach, and we are lucky to have him. I really say he only made one mistake last night. The only mistake I think he made was not trying to bleed out the clock a little bit more before the first half, and then the Ravens kind of stole that momentum, and the Browns eventually got it back. But I think that touchdown right before the half really hurt the Browns going forward. A couple interesting notes from this game. It's the first game ever in NFL history out of hundreds and thousands of games to have a 47-42 final score.
And that's a high score,
Yeah.
man. That really is. This is college scores now.
Right, yeah.
But if you're the NFL and you want to put a primetime game on that's exciting, that no matter who you're a fan of is a fun game, that's it. That's exactly what you'd hope for.
And I think, this was sort of the Browns' offensive. I mean, we know what they did against the Titans last week, and they had that breakout performance in the first half. But this was the Browns' best offensive performance, I think, from start to finish. I thought they got a little bit away from the run game early, but you could see Baltimore was loading up the box early. They had like eight guys in the box a lot of times. So
they only made any yards up if they swung it outside.
Right. Exactly. A couple interesting other notes. There were 20 points scored in the final 2 minutes of this game. 89 points in a Monday night game was the third highest in Monday Night Football history. So just a couple of other interesting news and notes there. The Browns obviously fall to 9-4. Still, if the interesting thing is though, if the Browns would have won this game, or if the Browns would have, the Browns lost this game, they still would have been stuck in that 5th spot in the wild card picture. Now, so their playoff seeding hasn't changed, but we know the NFL week to week can change drastically. Especially,
so you're watching this from a very objective standpoint, and you're evaluating just how strong of a team this is. When I'm looking at it, I don't necessarily think we had beat many opponents that were very strong. So our record is kind of like skewed. I think I saw a stat that, all of our wins came from teams that are less than 50%,
something like that.
And all of our losses came from anybody who was better than that. So, I mean, I really do struggle with putting too much like we had the team to beat this year kind of thing.
Sure. Right. And the Browns have a ton of talent, but to your point, the Browns, I think, are 7-0 versus teams under 500. And I believe they've beaten the Colts, who the Colts look pretty good. They've beaten the Titans, and they were very competitive against the Ravens. I think they are 2-4 against teams above or with a winning record. So that goes to your point.
If you pick your biggest strategy for making a more complete team next year, I mean, you got defense, kicker, like that's a rough position these last couple of years for us.
Cody Parkey last night had his probably worst performance. Definitely his worst performance of the year. He missed an extra point. He missed a field goal, and those were 4 huge points in the course of the game. Now, you can't just add 4 points to the score and say, oh, that would have changed it to this or that, because, then there's different scenarios going forward and things like that. But those points were critical at those moments. And, that did hurt us last night. He has been very good this year, but it's December football now, which the Browns are not used to playing in very competitive games. And this is the time you got to step it up. So,
So on the defense, what positions would you be pulling from the draft right off?
Before I talk about that and the draft, I do want to point out the Browns last night. So no Denzel Ward,
right?
Their other starting corner before the season was supposed to be Greedy Williams. Hasn't played a snap all season.
Yeah, where is he?
He apparently has some nerve damage in his shoulder, and they just don't want to risk putting him out there. So those are your 2 starting corners that are not there. One has missed the entire season. Denzel Ward's missed the last 3 games, and he was arguably playing at a Pro Bowl level before he went out. Also, Ronnie Harrison, who got hurt in that Jacksonville game on the first play of the game, has missed the last 3 weeks. He'd be one of your starting safeties. And Grant Delpit, who would be your starting safety, who was a 2nd-round pick this year, has missed the entire season. So that is your entire secondary out. Now, injuries are a part of the game, and you got to step up in the next guy up mentality. But having your whole secondary out is a huge deal. But with what you said, what would I address? I think linebacker is a huge need for the Browns in the offseason. It would be nice. Olivier Vernon's playing really well right now on the other side of Myles Garrett. And by the way, Myles Garrett probably, I don't want to say had his worst game of the year last night, but he didn't make an impact last night. And for, being the Browns' probably best player, that's a game we really needed him in. And I think he'll step up in the weeks coming forward, but he had a kind of a quiet night last night.
Now, when I picture this league, I would have said, a couple years ago that all the NFL teams are going to have all mobile quarterbacks that can run around.
Mm-hmm.
And you had like the RG3s that, got so beat up because they were, defenseless. I mean, they were getting killed that way.
Mm-hmm.
You have Lamar Jackson, who is that threat, and he doesn't get injured. He somehow figures out, way to, but if the league does go more mobile, how do you stack your defense so that you can pursue quarterbacks that are way faster than you?
Right. And I think it becomes more scheme than actual personnel. Obviously, you need to have talent, but any guys that make it to the NFL are very talented. Right. Lamar Jackson there's probably not, I don't know if there's anybody in the NFL that can do what he does. He's arguably the fastest quarterback in the league. There's some special quarterbacks out there, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, obviously Pat Mahomes, but they don't have his freakish speed.
Yes.
But where you see Lamar Jackson's weaknesses are in the passing game, but where he makes up for those weaknesses, he, like on that touchdown, which was the backbreaker in the game, he drew that entire defense in and sucked him in, because those DBs, they have to make a decision. Am I coming up and tackling him, or am I dropping back in coverage? And he got it right to that, that 2-3 yards before the line of scrimmage, and sucked the defense in and burned him over the top, which, he's just arguably, he won the MVP last year for a reason.
Yeah.
And he is an elite talent, but
because your line and your linebackers aren't fast enough to pursue him, so it's got to be your safety or your
exactly. So you almost want to find a linebacker or a safety out there that can, sort of spy him or whatever you want to call it. But I'll save that for the defensive coordinators who have a lot more knowledge than me. But
we're not paid for this.
That would be my best advice. Is I would say, you just got to bring in more talent on the defensive side of the ball, and hopefully,
because a regular run defense isn't going to do it. It's just really not.
Well, and the Browns struggle. The Browns' biggest struggle, I think, this year is against the run. And they got they have some nice defensive linemen, but you can start seeing like their lack of depth because of injuries or because of, whatever it is, hurts them sometimes in games like this, where, Baltimore, well, they don't have to worry about the Browns because, they are the Browns, but the Browns have, top 2 rushing attack in the league. The Ravens are right there. Yeah. Titans are right there, but you saw they had the ability. They stopped the Titans, but the Titans don't have that running quarterback. Right. So
but their scheme was good against Dobbins and the regular running backs. Right, it was fine against, but you get Lamar Jackson, like you said, he's freakish. He's a special player, and that's what special players do. They bring, they make it a matchup nightmare for those defensive coordinators. So I think players just have to step up and make plays. Yeah, like who covers them? I don't want to cover them.
Right. And that's why they were 14-2 last year, and that's why they struggled without Lamar Jackson. You saw that, and when he came back, it's like an immediate impact. And to Lamar Jackson, I had never heard of a quarterback or really any players getting cramps in 30-degree weather. Normally, you hear that in like, in the first couple games of the season or in Florida or whatever. Do you think he had cramps last night, or do you think he maybe had like some bathroom troubles that kept him in
I'm
the
going to
back.
say that he had some tacos before the game and he had to let loose. I mean,
Okay. All right. So
he
because
came back and he was kind of shifty.
yeah, did you see? Like he sprinted back on the
Yeah,
field. Like,
right.
no, I'm sorry, he didn't have cramps. So
Can you imagine how embarrassing that would be to say, I got to take a poopy in the middle of a game that defined your postseason?
oh man,
Yeah.
yeah. And I mean they missed him on 2 drives, and that was key. But which kept the Browns in the game. But he came back and immediately that first play he comes in, it's 4th and 5, and that's make or break. If they don't get that, Browns win. If they get it, they score a touchdown, the force of the Browns come down, and
Somebody's got to be there for Parkey, though. He's got to have a bad Tuesday after that.
I
game.
know.
He's
I
probably
know.
sad.
yeah. He but all in all, I don't think that cost us the game.
No, I don't either, but he's
think-
got to see those points as his points,
And just a couple interesting other notes from this game. 9 rushing touchdowns combined by the two teams. That tied for most in a game since I don't know the exact year, but I want to say it was 1922. So pretty crazy.
Chubb and what's the name had him. Both running backs had 2 touchdowns, right?
Chubb had 2 on the ground, and Hunt had actually 2 receiving touchdowns that were, I think the one touchdown he caught, and it was like on a little wheel route. I think he stepped out of bounds.
I do too. I'm hoping they get that play off.
That was one. I'm gonna say we got the benefit of the doubt on that.
Yeah, because they said the smart Harbaugh was going to challenge it, but he ran out of time. He ran up the time.
But you know what? Like we've been saying though, Browns. At the end of the day, I still give the Browns kind of like an A- on this. I give the defense like a C, but I give the offense an A+ because Baker threw that 1 interception, but it was like a great play by a defensive lineman who kind of snuck back and hid in the coverage. But Baker really stepped up and he had a special game last night. He really did.
Let me make you this prediction too, that we saw a lot of on punts and kickoffs that they are not returning things anymore. There's just the risk of returning a ball. Everybody's letting it go out of the end zone and whatever, and that's not fun for the game. So I predict that they're going to change rules to make returns a little bit more interesting.
Interesting.
Did you notice that? I mean, nobody's returning it.
Yeah, and a lot of times you'll see the kickoff specialist or returner, put his arms out like that, which signals, we're waving the white flag.
Right.
But they actually changed that rule for player safety.
I know.
Just a couple years ago. Yeah. So but
if you go through that, might as well just put it at the yard line and forgo the kick.
And you see a lot of team strategy now is to kick it short to like the 4 or 5 yard line, so teams can possibly keep them short of, because if you take a touchback, now you get the ball at the 25 yard line. So if you kick it off to let's say the 3 or 4 yard line, make them return it, and they only get to the 22. Well, that saved your defense 3 yards already right there. So yeah, that's an interesting thought.
The kickers don't want you to return it, so they're put in the end zone, and that just makes it a formality, and that just sucks.
I don't have so much of a problem with the kickoffs, except for the onside kick one. I wish they could, and we talked about this last week, I wish they could stack one side, because that made it for good, entertaining, exciting play. And that would be at the end of the game when a team possibly has a chance to, steal a possession away and get back into a game. So that's where I would suggest possibly changing that rule.
Yeah.
So
now, one other thing about that Browns game, now there were a lot of penalties.
Yeah.
But I didn't necessarily think that any of those penalties meant there was lack of discipline. I wasn't really disappointed in the penalties that they did have.
Right. Yeah. No, I thought, overall, I thought the penalties situation, they had one that was kind of frustrating. It was a 3rd and long play. It was early in the game. And one of the DBs, who again, is normally a backup, second or third string guy, is playing, and he sort of just tackled the guy, which you'd rather have that than give up a touchdown. But if that's a Denzel Ward or somebody, then that 40-yard penalty turns into the Ravens punting, you know, and I think they went down and scored on that possession. So,
and there was a lot of talk too about Sandejo and how much he sucks. I didn't really notice much about what was his big mistake that everybody was riled up about
last night. I thought he played an okay game.
Yeah, that wasn't.
He and Dobbins had a massive collision on the goal line, and he hit Dobbins hard, but he took the brunt of it. And you just saw, it always kind of makes me nervous when you see a guy, you know, hit or impact a guy, and then their arms kind of like go down. It makes me a little nervous.
Because I think somebody went out for a concussion. Was that him?
It might have been.
Yeah,
it might have been. I did not see, but I don't think there was nothing that stood out to me last night that he did poorly.
No.
You know, and would I like an upgrade at safety? Sure. But, you know, he does play hard, and, you know, he does make some mistakes, but at the end of the day, he's on the field for a reason, obviously for experience or whatever. But, yeah, hopefully next year that's something they can address. But this year it's like, come on, Browns fans, like, step up, root for this guy. He's on your team. Like, right. You know, he's
a physical guy. And I'm telling you, like, when safeties were able to do their thing and it was physical, you know, TJ Ward was the guy to get up there and mess with them. Mm-hmm. And then when they changed the rules, the safety became kind of like less of an impact on that field. But this guy's figuring out how to be physical at the same time and not causing a lot of penalties.
Yeah, I agree. And to your point, Sue, I think coaching makes a big difference with the penalties. You see Stefanski, and he's a real even, chill dude, you know, and you even see Baker has, like, you know, you want him to be excited, you want him to be pumped up, but in crunch times and crucial moments, you want that calmness. And I think that, you know, the team sort of takes on the personality of the head coach. Yep. And I think with Kitchens last year, you know, he was just kind of loosey-goosey. He kind of, like, you know, wasn't a real big disciplinarian, things like that. But with Stefanski, you can see it's all business on the field. You know, you can have fun off the field, do this or do that, but on the field, it's all business, and those guys are playing together, and you can see that. I feel
like Stefanski has been our coach for a really long time. It does not feel like he's a first-time new guy, you know?
Yeah. He really has come on with the Browns very nicely and fit in very well. And, you know, it's refreshing to have, to feel comfortable with your head coach in Cleveland, which we haven't had one since we came back, right. You know, since the Belichick days. But we're sitting here at 9-4. We got 3 games left. So we got the Giants coming up on Sunday Night Football. We have the Jets after that, and then we got the Steelers at home. So 2 games in New York and 1 game at home in Cleveland. You know, I think this game against, we'll talk more about that on Thursday, but I think the game against the Giants is sort of the key to the rest of the season. I think it's going to be a tough fought game. Hopefully the Browns, like, get some guys back. Austin Hooper didn't play in this game either. That was another person that could have helped. But Austin Hooper, get him back, get Denzel Ward. Denzel Ward is, for me, the biggest key to get him back. And you get your guys healthy and motivated and playing. I think the Browns, you know, obviously we had our struggles on defense, but they're playing their best football going forward. This isn't a game where I feel like, you know, we lost and I'm miserable the day after. Right. Now, I'm not a person that likes to settle for moral victories, but with where we have been, you know, I think everybody wants to rush and say, let's get to the Super Bowl. But I think, to your point earlier, kind of like enjoy the ride, enjoy the process. Like, we have not been a relevant football team for 20 years. Yep. And it's like, we're to this point, enjoy the ride. Your quarterback's getting better. You have the best run game in the game. You have probably the best, one of the top 2 or 3 defensive players in the league. Enjoy and your head coach is good, like, you know, which is something I don't know when's the last time we could ever say that. Right. So
what do you think of the usage of Higgins and Landry? Do you think that they mix it up a little bit?
I love Jarvis Landry. Like, he, to me, represents Cleveland football. He really does. He's a hard worker. He's scrappy. He's tough. He gets after it, but he loves his teammates, and his teammates love him. And to me, that's what it's all about. He is very reliable too. Is he going to be your deep threat or make, bust out these like 40, 50 yard pass plays? No, but he's going to get you a first down, or he's going to block downfield, or he's going to do what it takes to help you win the game.
Man.
Yeah, he does.
Hands.
His hands are incredible. Higgins really stepping up. He had a little bit of the fumble problem early in that first drive of the game, but luckily we didn't lose any of those.
That's going to be today's conversation of protecting the football.
Yeah, with him for sure. Yeah, and those Ravens corners, if you watch them, they swat after every single ball. They try to get a fumble on every single play.
But you know what? You make them pay the consequence by while they're going for the ball and not doing the mechanics of a tackle, you bust a big one loose.
Right,
we didn't do that at all.
And you had asked me, I think on the last show, who was the Browns' deep threat going to be? I think it might be Peoples-Jones. I don't think he's this absolute blazer like a Tyreek Hill or someone like that, but I think he can make some big plays for you. I think he might be the answer as your second or third receiver going forward. So we'll close the book on this week. We're 9-4. We're still in the 5th spot in the playoffs, but to me, you got to get this win coming up on Sunday. This is the most important game of the year. I think the Browns are coming out early as a 4-point favorite on the road. And to me, it's a game you got to win. Now, the Giants are going to be fighting for their playoff lives. They're coming off a pretty bad loss to Arizona. And the Browns, they have to get after them early. So if they play offensively like they played this game, we're going to have zero problems, but you can't have a letdown after, an emotional loss and just settle for playing well enough to lose a close game. No, now it's time to go out and beat the team you should beat and move on.
Can we get Odell to come off the bench just for one game? Because he'd play with
against the
fire
Giants.
On this one.
Yeah. I wonder how that, hopefully his leg's healing up. And it's going to be interesting. I am not the person that wants Odell gone, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens with him in the offseason. He may have played his last game with the Browns, and if they can acquire some draft picks or another player for him,
get value for him.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting to see. Joe, can I throw up this scores? So I'm going to do a little rundown of the Sunday slate, and even going back to as far as last Thursday's game. So bear with me on this. So we're going to try to get through this in a couple minutes. So the Rams on Thursday night beat up on the Patriots to move to the top of the NFC West and drop New England to 6-7 as their playoff hopes hang by a thread. Tennessee ran all over Jacksonville, led by Derrick Henry's 215 yards, and win the game 31-10. They go to 9-4, and they still have the tiebreaker over Indianapolis. Jacksonville falls to 1-12 on the season. They won their first game of the season, so they've lost 12 straight. And they actually have the tiebreaker with the New York Jets. So if the Jets lose a game, the number one pick would go to Jacksonville if they both have a one win. So, in that Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes, that'll be interesting. Justin Fields, though, the Ohio State quarterback, that's probably a pretty good consolation prize if you come in second. So moving on to Tampa. Tampa dominated the Minnesota Vikings to improve to 8-5 on the season. They're still in good standing in the NFC wildcard race. The loss drops Minnesota to 6-7 as they are on the outside looking in, along with division foe Chicago in the playoff race. In a game of runs, Kansas City and Joe, I felt so bad about this one. Kansas City wins the game 33-27. The Dolphins did what's called a double backdoor cover. So the Dolphins were up 10-0 in the game. Obviously, the Chiefs were a 7-point favorite. So Dolphins go up 10-0. The Chiefs score the next 30 points, and they're up 30-10 late in the second half. The Dolphins get, a touchdown and then another garbage touchdown. The Chiefs kick a field goal, go up 33-24. And then, I don't want to call it garbage time, but in the last remaining seconds of the game, the Dolphins kick a field goal, so they double backdoor. That means they cover, and the underdog covers in the last minute or so of the game. So that was a bad beat. As Joe put a $50 bet down for charity on that game, and I'm sorry. I cost you that
I
one.
gave you one mulligan. You used it on the exact first week. Yep. Now, don't get it wrong from this point on.
That's fine. So we'll pick another game then on Thursday.
Yes.
All right.
You feel terrible. I know.
I do. I did. I felt bad. And by the way,
that was your lock. That wasn't like I think so.
I know.
You had all the games to choose from, and that was the one you went with.
That's why the odds makers make all. That's why those casinos out in Vegas aren't little dinky. That's why they're immaculate towers. But a couple other notes from that game: the Kansas City is now the #1 seed in the playoffs, and Miami drops to 8-5. And we'll talk about on Thursday again where they match up in the playoff picture. Moving on to the next game, Denver. A Denver team beat the Panthers to move to 5-8 on the season, dropping Matt Rule and Teddy Two Gloves Bridgewater Panthers to 4-9 on the season. Mitch Trubisky, a Cleveland guy, led the Chicago Bears back and jumped all over Deshaun Watson and interim head coach Romeo Crennel's Houston Texans, snapping their losing streak to improve to 6-7 on the season.
Chicago.
The Bears, they started the year 5-2, lost, struggled a little bit, but they played pretty well this past weekend. And Houston is not a bad. Record-wise, they're not a good team, but they're not a bad team. Chicago still has that slim playoff shot to get in, but they have to have a lot of things happen. Kyler Murray in Arizona bounced back with a 26-7 win over the New York Football Giants to keep their playoff hopes alive, and they are now the 7th seed in the NFC at 7-6. The G-Men fall to 5-8, a game back in the NFC behind NFC least. I'm going to call it the NFC least since they're still all below 500 behind the football team. So not the, I don't want to say the word, but
Redskin potatoes, right?
Yeah, exactly. Behind the football team from Washington. So Dallas beat Cincinnati. That we don't really need to talk about that game much.
Poor Cincinnati too. Jeez.
I know they're going to end up probably with a top 3 or 4 pick in the NFL draft. And really since Burrow went down, they've kind of been out of it. Phillip Rivers, and this game really mattered for the Browns too here. Phillip Rivers and T.Y. Hilton connected for 2 touchdowns. Jonathan Taylor rushed for 2 more, and the Indy defense played well and returned a pick 6 from Derek Carr and beat the free-falling Vegas Raiders 44-27. I don't know. Like the Warren Harding mascot is the Raiders. And they always would do that. If you ever go to Mollenkopf Stadium, they would always say, "And here come the Raiders." So I always think of that. And I think one of the ESPN guys does that. But they beat up on the Raiders 44-27. Indy improves to 9-4. The Raiders fall to 7-6. The Raiders were 6-3 at one point, and now they've fallen to 7-6. Russell Wilson got back and was cooking in the kitchen this weekend, and he threw 4 touchdowns in a rout over the hapless Jets, 40-3. The Jets were actually up 3-0 in that game, lost 40-3.
They had their hopes all up, and then Williams not there anymore.
Well, the players, believe me, the players want to win. The organization and the fans do not want the Jets to win. They want Trevor Lawrence bad.
Yeah.
The Seahawks, though, are sitting at top the NFC West along with the Rams at 9-4, but the Rams have some sort of tiebreaker over Seattle, so they are actually the top
Let me
seed.
interrupt you here. Mm-hmm. So you own a football team,
sure,
right? And you know that if you do bad for the rest of the season, you get a rare draft pick. How do you have that meeting and tell a room full of professionals to throw the rest of the season? You don't say it out loud. You imply it gently, and if they what do you say?
Well.
How the heck would you say lose this game, without saying lose this game?
I think, and right now, I think the Jets coach knows he's not coming back next year. They already fired the defensive coordinator. I think those guys, it's kind of, it's kind of a rough situation because, again, they all want to win, but they're not going to be around to reap the rewards of that number 1 draft pick. So I think the coaches and the players want to win, but the organization as a whole is probably just, there's probably some talk behind the scenes, under the table, whatever, say, you know, it might be better for you if we lose these next couple games. So,
but just like in Major League, where they wanted to, kill the team, so they made sure the machinery broke, or they didn't have any towels or any equipment.
Yeah, I don't think it's that bad. I don't think it's Major League bad, but I think they're okay with them losing these last 3 games and go into infamy with that 0-16, joining I think the 16 Browns, and then I think the Lions did it back in early 2000s. Just a couple more
I'm derailing you all over the place. Sorry about that.
No, I normally don't go over every single game, but I wrote up a little bit for each game this weekend, and just figured I'd cover some of these. Let's see, the Packers. This was another one that they called a hook on the line. So the Packers went into Detroit and came out with a 7-point win, but the Lions covered. They were a 7.5-point underdog. So that's called the hook, with that extra little half point, which makes a big difference, believe it or not. So Green Bay actually wins the NFC North and will be one of the top 3 seeds in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm telling you, 2.5 and 6.5 always scares the crap out of me.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and I thought we were safe with the Chiefs at 7. I thought we were going to push at the worst, but yeah, it didn't happen. I put this for the Falcons-Chargers in a game of who wants to blow the lead in the fourth quarter the most. The Chargers were the ones to drop this one. The Falcons win 20-17. The Washington football team traveled to Arizona to play the San Francisco 49ers. So they scored 23 unanswered points in the second and third quarter, including a touchdown by Ohio State Buckeye and number 2 draft pick Chase Young on defense. So that was pretty cool. And they take the top seed in the NFC East at 6-7. Now 6-7, that's obviously not a very good record, but where they were to where they are now, very impressive by the Washington football team to do what they're doing now. And Haskins even came back in that game and looked pretty good. So,
did you see that? Moving. Did you see that quote from Ben Roethlisberger? We talked about this on this last show, that if he didn't pick up his game, he's probably gonna, throw in the towel. He said it publicly yesterday.
Yeah, so. That's interesting. Yeah. That's interesting because he appears to have lost a step or might be injured or something's going on there.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that game next. One other note I wanted to put about the NFC, the Saints, who actually were the number 1 seed in the NFC, they were 10-2, went into Philadelphia. Philadelphia throws in Jalen Hurts, a rookie quarterback, and comes out on top with a win. The Eagles actually were up 17-0 in this game. The Saints came back, but weren't able to pull it out
this week.
Mm-hmm. And then in that Pittsburgh Steelers game, which was against the Bills, 2 really good teams, 2 of the AFC's best teams, in fact. The Steelers threw a pick 6. So Ben threw a pick 6 a little bit before halftime, and that really changed the complete momentum of that game. The Bills just dominated from there on out. So the Steelers, who were 11-0, now dropped to 11-2, and the Bills inch closer to that AFC East crown, which will be the first time they win that in a long, long time. They're sitting at 10-3. And then I put on here too, just kind of what you were saying, is Big Ben hurt? Is there something going on? Because they don't seem to want to run the ball, but he doesn't seem like Big Ben in the beginning of the year, or obviously in previous years. So I don't know what's going on with them. And I will never feel bad for the Steelers, especially being a Browns fan, but their injuries on defense are starting to show. They've lost 2 of their best linebackers, and that's going to really cost them, I think, going into the playoffs.
Well, even with Connor coming back, I mean, it was a non-starter.
Exactly. Yeah, and I don't know. Like, I think the Steelers, they're obviously going to make the playoffs, but now they're not going to get that first round bye, which they're a little bit of an older team. They need that the Steelers probably have the best defense in the AFC North, but if their offense isn't helping them out or moving the ball or keeping them on the field, their defense can't sustain that for an entire game. So you could argue the Browns are the Ravens right there neck and neck for the best offense, but the Steelers still obviously have the best defense in the AFC North, and probably maybe even the AFC as a whole. But you keep losing guys, it's hard to keep that. And we've addressed all the games, but just a couple other 3-3-0 notes. Some guys from our area, a Boardman graduate, Corey Lindsley. He's also an Ohio State graduate. He is the Green Bay Packers center. He's injured right now, but he was nominated by the Packers for their Man of the Year award. There's only 32 players in the NFL that are nominated for that award, so I thought that was really cool. And Lynn Bowden, who was a former Boardman kid, a former Liberty kid, and then played most of his high school football at Warren Harding. He's now a running back / wide receiver for the Miami Dolphins, and he's arguably become their main target at running back and wide receiver. He actually threw the ball once in this game. He had one rush for 2 yards, but he also had 7 receptions for 82 yards in this game as a rookie. So pretty awesome, as he was obviously a college quarterback and transitioning to a running back wide receiver. So he's making a name for himself in the NFL. I would like to transition. We're gonna try to spend about 10 minutes on some college football and some news and notes before we get out of here. But we'll take a look at the Week 15 Associated Press top 25 in college football. The top 4 remain the same. Alabama 1, Notre Dame 2, Ohio State 3, and Clemson 4. I'm also going to show you here in a minute the conference schedule for college football this weekend. So these are the college championship games for this weekend. We have Florida and Alabama playing for the SEC title. We have Northwestern and Ohio State, Clemson and Notre Dame in a big rematch, Oklahoma and Iowa State. And on this graphic, it says actually Washington and USC. Washington actually pulled out of this game because of COVID-19 reasons. And Oregon will now replace them in that Pac-12 title game. So a few other notes from around the NCAA world. It's a crazy weekend. Obviously, we missed Ohio State-Michigan game for me and for people watching this show. That's the most important game. But there were some other really cool moments. College Game Day was at the Army-Navy game, which was awesome. Usually that game's held in Philadelphia as kind of a neutral point. But for the first time since World War II, so I think it was early to mid 1940s, this game was held at West Point on campus. So that was really cool to see that. Army won that game 15-0, but overall it was just a really cool scene. Just like all the military stuff and all the, I don't want to call it theatrics, but all the pageantry and all this stuff before the game is just really, really cool. Sarah Fuller, we talked about her a couple weeks ago for Vanderbilt, where she became the first female player to play in a Power 5 game. She actually was the first woman this weekend. She went 2 of 2 on PATs. So she scored 2 points this weekend for Vanderbilt.
Sign her up for Cleveland. Take her.
Well, in her career, actually, Vanderbilt is not going to play this weekend. So her career is actually over now. But for her, really cool moment. She was said she was embraced and felt like a member of the team, not just like not like, dog and pony showed out there, to showcase her. But I thought that was really cool what she said, and the fact that she scored was pretty neat. In the biggest upset of college football, maybe of the year, LSU, led with Bo Pelini as their defensive coordinator. Bo's obviously from Youngstown. LSU upset number 6 Gators on the road, which was a huge upset. There's some really weird, dramatic, crazy things that happened in this game. First of all, in Florida and in Gainesville, they call it the Swamp. That's where they play. And I don't know if it was because of temperature or weather or whatever, but this game was almost played in fog. Almost the entire game. It was really weird, but it kind of had cool visuals on TV. But listen to this. So LSU down to 54 scholarship players. Normally you're in the 80s with scholarship players. They had a true freshman quarterback and went on the road to play a top 10 team. So I put on here, and by the way, won the game. But I put on here, Michigan, take note, because they had 9 guys that they said, I don't know all the things that behind the scenes that they said weren't able to play. And by the way, Michigan practiced on Sunday. So
bastards.
I know, just
so.
But in the weirdest part of this game, there's a defender for Florida, maybe their best player, named Marco Wilson, and he did something that changed the entire course of the game. They stopped LSU on like a 3rd and long, and he grabbed the LSU guy's shoe, chucks it about 30 yards downfield, obviously got a penalty flag, gives LSU a first down. They go down, take the lead, and obviously win the game. So that really cost his team and cost Florida any shot they had of getting into the playoffs. That went right out the window with that game. Miami, the U, they were ranked number 10 in the country and lost to North Carolina this week. They really stunk it up. Listen to this. North Carolina racked up almost 800 yards of offense in the game, including 544 yards rushing. Dang, 544. They had 2 guys. They had one guy over 300, another guy over 200. Just amazing. Dang. And 2 other notes from the college football world: USC and UCLA. Wild finish with the Trojans coming back late to beat the Bruins in obviously a rivalry game of LA. USC is now 5-0. They're going to play for the Pac-12 title this weekend. 3 of those wins are last-minute wins. They've come from behind in 3 of those games. So they're going to end up playing now Oregon, who replaces Washington. And finally, the playoff committee rankings will be released tonight. So, that's going to be interesting. We'll see how that shakes out. But
are there any like surprises on those lineups or those rankings so far?
So far, no. I think a lot of people are going to say, and it's always like this every year with usually there's 1 or 2 or 3 clear-cut, possibly 4 clear-cut teams. So I love the 4-team playoff. I think it's going to expand based on money, based on different factors, but I think they have it right with where it's at. Now, those will probably shake out after this weekend because either Notre Dame or Clemson's going to lose. If Clemson loses, they're out. If Clemson wins, they probably jump all the way up to number 2. And if Bama loses, they're probably still in. Right. So it's just going to be crazy this weekend, but we'll see. I did want to throw this graphic up as around the sports world. The Columbus Crew. I don't really follow soccer very much, but they are obviously a major league team in Ohio from Columbus, and they won the MLS Cup this weekend. So pretty cool weekend for the Columbus Crew. A great season, obviously, in a COVID year. And I believe Jimmy Haslam, the owner of the Browns, owns their franchise as well. Okay. So kind of cool note. Yeah. And Joe, before we go, and we can get more into this is going to end up, I feel like, being a whole show topic in itself. And yesterday you were on 570 and you were talking about this too. But obviously the name, the Cleveland Indians, has been associated with baseball in Cleveland since you and I obviously have been alive, but for the past 100 years or so. And, they had some other nicknames before that, but they announced that they're going to keep the name through the 2021 season, but after that it's going away, which there's a lot of angry people out there because of that. Right. So, I don't want, you don't have to get too political or anything like that. And if you ever listen to Joe on 570, he's on there often. You get some callers on there that are really passionate. Yeah, a little passionate. So I guess, give us a little bit of from yesterday, what you heard, like that some people are thinking or what your thoughts are.
There's certain weirdness to this because I must have talked to maybe 40 people who called in and text message, and there wasn't a single person who was outraged by that it was there, right? Mm-hmm. So we had a couple of Native Americans that had that heritage. they weren't, wasn't a big deal to them.
Sure.
So the timing of like why this happened when it did made me kind of wonder that, you know, what the reason was behind it.
Right.
Nobody was insulted by it. Now, I don't care all that much. Call it the Cleveland sidewalks, and I really don't care, right? But
Okay.
this is just another like thing.
Maybe not the sidewalks.
No, maybe not. All right. but I mean, sports is important, but
Yeah.
it's not
Right.
this important
Yeah.
to get all wrapped up
Right.
in. But just to sidewise, and I was going to ask you earlier to come when we had all of the logos up on the screen. Let's pick the next one that's going to be insulting. Like,
Yeah.
you know, there's some other ones that are up there that are kind of fringe.
Well, you know, you think about there's the Chicago Blackhawks in hockey, the Kansas City Chiefs. You know, it's
Buccaneers.
like, yeah, the Buccaneers. The rate. I mean, they're pillaging and torching
Right,
towns, and you know, it's like you can literally look at anything that's almost not an animal and say, you know, or maybe people are offended by certain bears. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
You know what? Dolphins piss me off, right? It's
hey, they're the smartest mammal next to humans. So
I'm a little threatened by them.
I'm a little threatened. But I'm very interested to see where this will go. And like you said, you know, sports in life are not, you know, sports. I think I've said this from day one. Sports are a great distraction and entertainment. That's why we love sports.
Yep.
But I don't think we need to get all bent out of shape and worked up about, you know, I'm one for, I want the name to stay, but it's not going to stay. It's obviously the writing's on the wall. And you could see the writing on the wall changing. Major League actually told the Indians, and somebody can fact check me if I'm wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure I'm accurate. I believe that Major League Baseball sort of told the Indians, you need to phase out that Chief Wahoo logo if you want to host the Major League Baseball game in 2019. So the Indians, I think in 2018, started fading it out, and you started seeing that C logo, that block C, instead of the Chief Wahoo, where it used to be on the hat, then it only used to be on the shoulder, and now it's completely gone.
Right.
So I have a lot of thoughts on this that I think we'll dive into later. Probably dedicate a whole show to that. But I'm just curious for anyone listening, you know, what are some of your thoughts, good or bad? If you do think the name should change or want it to change, what do you think the name should be? A couple popular things I hear are Guardians, Cleveland Guardians, Cleveland Spiders. I've heard the Blue Sox, which would, I don't know.
Stupid.
It's too fresh. It's too fresh. It's too fresh. The wound is still open. So, you know, at the end of the day, is it going to affect me or ruin my day? No, but
it might make the value of your merchandise that's in your closet worth more.
That's true. Yeah.
100 years from now, like, hey.
Yeah, right. Well, in 100 years, I mean, how long are you planning on living, Joe?
I'm working on time compression.
I love it. So we'll get more into that. Thursday will actually be our last show of the year. Until, you know, we're going to.
Apologies. I couldn't hear what you said.
Oh, Suri's listening
concerned.
to me. She's very nervous. But Thursday's going to be our last show of 2020. And we'll kind of turn the page on 2020, and we'll get into 2021 after the Christmas holiday and break. So thanks to Annabelle Himes for coming on. She's an awesome, awesome business. So young and talented. So check out her business, Heroes and Tiaras on Facebook. And if you're listening to the podcast, she gave the number earlier on. Check them out. Thank you to Joe. Thank you to Mario. We'll have another great show for you on Thursday. Until then, everyone have a great day and take care.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. If you like our programming, we invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow our Facebook page, or subscribe to your favorite podcast platform like iTunes or Spotify. This is original Youngstown content, and we would appreciate you sharing the videos and the work.